Gareth Southgate has been sacked by England. He has been relieved of his duties. He has packed his bag. He said good night in the changing room to the current England squad. He sails off into the sunset. We can look at a top-class manager ahead of a big European tournament in the summer with an exceedingly talented squad, with one of the best number 9s in the world, some amazing young talent like Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden, a holding midfield player of a world-class level in Declan Rice, and an abundance of talent everywhere. That is what I hope to wake up to this morning. That is what I hoped would be the news. That's what I prayed would be the conversation today. By the way, hit like buttons, please. Subscribe to the Football Terrace. Turn on the bell notification buttons as well. Gareth Southgate sacked. That was my prayer. Now, I don't dislike this man. I'm grateful for what he has done for us at tournaments of late, because he's got us to semi-finals of the World Cup, got us to a final of the Euros. I'm grateful. But it's time to move on. The last two games, although we'd already qualified, in my opinion, are indicative. They're foreshadowing. You get foreshadowing in movies all the time, in TV series. Very early on in a movie, there'll be a line or a scene that will paint the picture for the end outcome. Sometimes it's very obvious, and sometimes it can be exceedingly subtle. The line from The Sixth Sense of "I see dead people." That was more the middle. That was at the beginning, and then it was in the middle. And of course, go watch the film, watch the ending. And that is how I feel about Gareth Southgate. What I've witnessed in the last two games, what I witnessed in the World Cup semi-final, what I witnessed in the Euros final, what I witnessed in the World Cup quarterfinal game against France almost 12 months ago, is what we witnessed in the last few days. A team that too often will regress into a dysfunctional, unpassionate, unaggressive, and a highly lacking level of football, a flaccid, impotent way of playing the game. And when you look at the abundance of talent we've got, and by the way, when you can start comparing our talent right now to most other countries around the world, and you look at our most predominant positions and our best players, we are right up there with the French, with the Argentinians. Listen, I'll say it. I think we have more talent right now. For the first time in my life, I think we actually have a better and more talented squad than Brazil do. When you think about who their main strikers are, who their main attackers are, barring Vinicius Jr., compared to England's, I think we're there. But we are being managed by somebody who is just not good enough. Instead of waking up to the news that we have dismissed him, the news that we're going to go out and try and find an absolute try and get as close to a world-class manager ahead of this tournament as possible, we haven't done. We haven't done it. Instead, what we see is headlines such as England have last two qualifying campaigns are undefeated. Great. I remember us having undefeated, brilliant qualifying campaigns in the last 30 years. It means very little. You have to, and people say to me, Terry, but you've qualified. Why are you worried? There's no need to sack a manager. There is. For me, he's come to the end of his tether. I believe it's gone stale. And the way we played football against Macedonia, the way we played football against Malta, it was so unimaginative. It was so boring, so flaccid, so tired, so stale. For me, it's foreshadowing. I then look at how we've dropped the ball at the most opportune moments in previous tournaments, how I believe we've bottled some of those games with the lateness of bringing Rashford on against France, the lateness of bringing Rashford on and Sancho on. Sancho, by the way, was killing it at that point against Italy in the Euros final. Not resting Harry Kane throughout the World Cup, keeping him on the football pitch when he was so poor against Croatia. All these little mistakes, or big mistakes, you could really call them, are all still there. Plus, we look stale. And then I see the media gaslighting fans again, pulling the wool over our eyes again. And then I listened to this.
Mentality was excellent. I thought we played well. We totally controlled the game.
Totally controlled the game. Well, I would expect you to against North Macedonia home and away. But this was a team we smashed 7-0 at Wembley, and we struggled to create a clear-cut chance on goal. For me, that's not dominating the game. Football fans, do not be gaslit, do not be hoodwinked, do not be tricked into thinking possession equals control. Macedonia didn't want possession. They didn't want to overly attack us because that way they would get opened up and ripped apart. They allowed us. We would have always had more possession than them, in my opinion, but they allowed us to have even more. They sat compact and they stopped us from penetrating. They controlled the game. North Macedonia controlled the game. They can't fight us toe to toe because pound for pound, they equaled things out last night and they actually had a better performance than us. We have better players. And if they just go toe to toe and open up against us and go hell for leather, we smash them 4-5-6-0. Of course we do. But they didn't do that. They dominated the game, not us. It's a fallacy that having the most amount of possession equals dominating games. Every time. Sometimes it does, but not always. It isn't a foregone conclusion.
Difficult with the way that they defended and the pitch not easy to get the perfect final pass. But I thought there were some excellent performances.
I can't actually think of many players that were excellent last night. Genuinely can't think of many. The England players were awful, if truth be told. Yes, it wasn't a penalty. I don't think Rico Lewis's was a penalty, but I believe Maguire gave a penalty away prior to that anyway, so it equaled itself out. We were shocking. We weren't moving the ball quickly. We weren't able to beat a man. I was even watching Bukayo Saka, and this guy was killing it for England a year ago. Honestly, last night, Bukayo Saka reminded me of Anthony. Every time just cutting onto the left and he was being doubled up on. He had nobody making runs off him to try and take a defender away, which again was partly on Saka and then partly on the system. He brings on Rashford, who I think he shouldn't even be in the England squad, but brings him on far too late to really make an impact. He really did. And he just gets it wrong far too often, in my personal opinion. And I get you, these are games where you've got to experiment, and I understand that, and I sympathize. But I'm just saying this now to England fans who think it's too harsh and we've got to give him time and give him a chance. I believe in, to a degree, processes and improving teams and squads, but I believe he has now outstayed his welcome. In the same way as we saw with Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool. They moved him on at the right time, went to Klopp, and went to another level. I believe that is what we have got to do with England, is remove Gareth Southgate, bring in a better manager, a more talented manager, somebody whose tactics are more befitting of the quality of player we have, and then we go to the next level. If we stick with him, we'll keep qualifying for tournaments. We'll keep having some good runs in tournaments, but we are always going to be the bridesmaids. We are never going to be the bride. We are never going to win the trophies with these guys, with him in charge of these players and these guys. That's my personal opinion. I would love to get yours. Hit the like button.